We're going to attempt to show everybody who has purchased a Greens Perfection brush exactly how we set ours. As you can see in the picture, we have a mower with a wide gap brush on it, and also down here we have two brushes that we currently sell. One's a real tight space brush and the other is a wide gap brush, and the wide gap brush is more forgiving and you can set it lower than you can the tight space brush. So with the tight space brushing you have to actually be more accurate, but if you set these for the first time, usually the setting's going to be somewhere between 100 thousandths and probably 80 or 60 thousandths depending on which brush you're using. It also depends a lot on how thick your greens are and how thick your canopy is on the greens. The thicker the green, the less deep you can set your brush, so it's kind of all formula, and the best way to determine which is the best setting for you is to set up 2 or 3 mowers all at the same mowing height and take them to a green and then set the brushes up. Say one brush would be set at 120 thousandths, one would be set at 100 thousandths, and another would be set at 80, and you run a couple of passes with each mower and it really gives you an idea of where you want to be with your mowing setup with your brush. And when we talk about height of brush, we're talking about ground being 0 or front roller being 0, and we really don't go by so many thousandths below the cutting height. The cutting height really doesn't have that much to do with it, other than the lower you mow, it does get a little bit more precise on your settings. But basically, when we say 80 thousandths of an inch on your brush, we're talking 80 thousandths of an inch clearance from the ground up, and it would be just like the mowing height setting, where if you had a mowing height at 180 thousandths, that would mean that the leading edge of the bed knife is at 180 thousandths. Well, the brush, you use the same type of settings. You measure from the ground up, and like I said, usually it's about 80 to 100 thousandths, sometimes 120 thousandths on the brush, but somewhere in there it works out. And once you start using it and getting your greens to get all the layover that's in the canopy out, you can actually go down with the brush and move it down some. And now we're going to bring in our mechanic, Keith Manis, and let him show you how we set these brushes, and he's just going to set one for you right quick. Basically, we're using an AccuGauge groomer gauge to set the height on this, and he's showing you right here. It's just a standard AccuGauge groomer gauge. It's just do it just like you would set your groomers. He goes underneath there and gets his adjustment. He moves to the other side, does the same thing. Usually we check it a couple times on each side just to make sure we're where we want to be. And he always tries to get the longest bristles, so he rotates the brush and tries to get to the highest point on the brush. And groomers are the same way. Groomers, you can't never get exactly the same setting, but on the brush we always try to hit the high spot on each side. That way it's set the same. Now you could set it all on the low point, but it won't make a lot of difference as long as you do it the same way on each mower each time. And that's something that's really, really critical, is that you standardize all your mowers. When you have an individual fleet of walking mowers, they need to have the same age class reels, the same age bed knives. You don't need to get into rotating these things because it changes the whole geometry of your setup. New reels on walk mowers cut a lot lower at the same bench height setting than do old reels. It's as much as 30 thousandths of an inch difference. So you don't need to mix those. You try to keep them all in the same age class so they're roughly all the same diameter.